Hey guys, welcome back. Another video with the Mirage conversion here. So, when I left off last time, I was talking about how I was going to start working on converting the power steering system over to AN. So I've got a bunch of that done now. So you get to see some of the work that I've gotten done here. So that flange there, if I can get the lighting right, that flange there is the stock power steering pump flange. I cut the end off where it was flared and used a tube adapter. So those just crimp on, and it's designed for converting tube over to AN, but you can really do it with just about anything that's metal. So I use those all throughout here. So here's the power steering pump feed from the reservoir, which I used one of those again on there. One on the lower end on this hard line for the power steering here. You can kind of see down in there how the hoses are run. And back here, this is where it goes down to the rack. That's converted over. So I used all the stock hard lines. I didn't bend any new hard lines, and just adapted them over. So that saved me a good bit of time and money. I didn't have to bend new lines up. You can see here that I adapted these stock lines as well. Nearly kinked one of the tubes, but it's got enough flow still. It's just power steering anyway. So anyway, the last step, I've picked up some of these. These are called 8L clamps, or cushion clamps. And I'm going to make new mounts, because I had to cut the old mounts off of this hard line for the flares to go, or the tube fittings to go on. So I'm going to make new mounts for those here and here. I've already got the pilot holes on this side drilled, there and there. But my brother has my drill index, which he'll be here in a few minutes with that. So then we'll get started. So the plan is we'll drill holes there, and we're going to put riv nuts, or I'm going to put riv nuts in. So I've already put a couple of riv nuts in this car before. You can see right here, if you're not familiar with riv nuts, it's basically a rivet. So you drill the right size hole, put the rivet in, and use a really fancy, expensive tool to pop these in, and you can see they're threaded on the inside, so it gives you a place to put threads. Now if you're like me and you don't have a ton of cash laying around, you can actually make this work yourself with a bolt and a couple of nuts. So all you have to do is put a bolt in there and have a couple of nuts on it that are bigger than the threads, or washers will work too, something to let the bolt spin. And you just tighten it down, and it draws the rivet, or the riv nut up, and it locks it in place. So they're pretty nice. They're really useful. Those are my intercooler mounts. That one stayed the same. The left side one there is for the Evo 8 intercooler. The right side would have been for the stock Evo 4 intercooler. I changed over to a later Evo 8 style intercooler, so that one's a lot better. But anyway, so that's all the power steering stuff. It's very nearly done. I've already put some fluid in the system, but I need to get the intercooler back on so I can start the car up and run it. I could run it the way it is because it's speed density, but I'd rather not be drawing an air down there in case it sucks up a rag or something. So we'll just wait, and once the hard lines are rounded up, I'll throw the intercooler back on and we'll be good to go. So I will probably cut to some footage of that here in just a minute. Okay, so this is the tool for putting riv nuts in, which I have access to thanks to my dad. The company he works for has one of these. I'm able to use it. So don't hate me, but these are quarter 20 rib nuts rather than metric. But that's okay. All the riv nuts that I have access to are Imperial. Metric ones are actually fairly hard to come by. So this, you see I've got this hole drilled here. So this goes in the hole, and then we draw it in, and that takes care of that. So with this, you thread the riv nut onto the crimp tool here, and you can see that this is threaded. And then when I crimp it down, you can see that it'll draw it up. So let's just go ahead and do that real quick. So we'll open this all the way up, put this all the way onto here, put this in, make sure it's straight. This is hard to do while holding a camera. Tighten that down, and then you unthread it with this. I'm going to set the camera down just for a minute so I can unthread this thing. And there it is. So that's basically how you do that. So now I'm going to do 3 more of them. And that is that. So here you go. The rib nuts are in place. We've got some 1/4-20 stainless steel bolts and stainless steel washers to hold them on. Something to kind of keep the corrosion away a little bit. But yeah, that turned out pretty good. So that is all done. Those are the original the original aluminum lines there, and we just adapted them over. So again, on this side, I don't think I showed this earlier. I used the tube fittings again on this, and everything worked out pretty well. So far, no leaks. I will put the intercooler back on here in a few minutes. Once the intercooler's on, which I already tested clearance for that, I need to check clearance here to make sure the fog lights are going to still fit there okay. They should be, but it'll probably push the lines back a little bit, but that's why I gave them some extra. So that should be good, and I think that's about it. So I'm going to put the intercooler back on here in just a minute, and yeah, hopefully I will have this car back together and possibly drivable again by the weekend. Again, I can't really drive it far because the rear diff's got that bad input shaft bearing, but you know, that stuff will be fixed next. So hopefully here in another couple of weeks I will get the rear diff pulled out of this car and get that sent off to TRE. And then the next thing I got to do right away is contact my friend about the wiring harness that he has and see about getting started on building my custom wiring harness. So anyway, I do have a couple other little things to talk about to you guys. One is that I have a Facebook page for the car now. Since PhotoBucket went down and took down all the build threads that I had built over the years, some of which are into the, I think I had like 60 pages on one, and that is a whole lot of pictures to try to restore. So rather than deal with trying to move over to another image host, I started another thread, or another build thread off of Facebook. So just for ease of being able to share what's going on with the car, I may start another one eventually to move all my pictures to, but I have 6,000 pictures documenting this car, and that's a lot of pictures to upload. So that won't be for a little bit. But if you want to check it out, it is www.facebook.com/2door4, which is 2DRIV. So no space, just all together, 2door4. Or if you go to the search box on Facebook, you can go, you can type in project 2door4, same number 2 DR space IV, and it should come up on that one. Also, I started up a Patreon account. I think with as many subscribers as I've been getting to follow this, I would like to be able to shoot higher quality videos, but with the lighting that I've got in here, granted these are really cool, these are antique, but with the lighting that I've got in here and with me shooting on a Galaxy S7, it's kind of hard for me to give you guys quality content. So I'd like to use Patreon to see about upgrading camera gear, maybe getting some better lighting in here, so that I can give you guys better content. If you want to support me on Patreon, you can just search Alchemist in the search box. But yeah, thanks for checking that stuff out, guys. And I guess I'll see you on the next one.